Why is it that that creak like registered more than my voice did? Terrible. Anyway, let's go ahead and start this interview. Welcome everyone to a new episode of the Amazing Experience. Today we have a very special guest. We got my man Vineet Anand. I think did I pronounce that right, Vineet?
Yeah, close enough. It's Vineet Anand,
Anand.
technically, but most don't get it, so no problem.
He's very prolific fighting game player, specifically as I know him in Tekken, mostly for like kicking the crap out of me and a lot of the people that I see. I mean, at that last tournament, man, I was like, yo, the way you did that comeback against that Claudio player, man, that was pretty crazy. And I was like, oh man, maybe you know I might be able to give him a good fight. Wrong, wrong. Nope.
Oh, no worries, man. It happens. You did well. I mean, you got to grand finals. That's pretty good.
Yeah. But yeah, man. So like to start us off, man. Like tell us about yourself, man. Like how many siblings you got, where you live, where you were born. Tell us about Vineet. The-
Yeah, okay. So for the stalkers where I live, I currently live in Houston, Texas, the great state of Texas. Been here since about late 1999, early 2000. That's where I met a lot of the Tekken players as well. And I like it here. I went to school here, went to the University of Houston, so I've been a Houston boy for a good chunk of my life now. Uh, but I was born in Bombay, India. I
oh,
spent 14 years there, so it's a long time. I grew up in India, and
wow.
that's where I first learned how to play Tekken. So and we'll talk about that later on too. So I live here. I have one brother also here in Houston with us, so it's good. Texas is now home.
Oh, cool. Is he your older brother or younger brother?
Older brother, a couple years older than me. We never really played, Tekken with each other or anything like that. So, but he's still my brother.
Okay, cool. All right, that's pretty cool, man. So, how do you have you ever thought about like living anywhere else? Do you just like prefer living in Houston or?
Yeah, man. I mean, Houston's a great place to be, right? So luckily I have the ability to travel when I need to, right? For just for fun or anything like that. So, for example, this year alone, went to New York for a good chunk of time in January when it wasn't busy at work. Went to San Jose, went to Vegas for Evo, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to DC in 4 days for a conference, and then then I have a bit of work, and then I'll have Cancun, Chicago. Like so I travel a lot just for
Wow.
fun and a little bit of work as well. So living wise, Texas, great place to live, right? I mean, no state taxes, low cost of living, it's got everything I need over here. So no, Houston's good. It's been good.
Oh yeah, man. Like whenever me and my family come to Houston, well, when we're going to Houston or Galveston, my mom always like talks about how much she loves Houston, the way it looks, the way it feels, stuff like that. I'm like, I could picture living in Houston. I had
I
a
mean,
ex girlfriend that lived there, and I used to go there all the time. And I mean, despite the fact that I was going to visit her, it was still a really nice place. You know what I mean? you
hey man, Houston's like I said, it's always down with the homies, right? Come through anytime you want.
Oh my goodness. So, man, like, fill me in, man. Like, when and why did you become interested in playing Tekken? Like,
Yeah, we can talk about this a little bit. So, and as you may or may not know, I've been quote unquote retired, and I say this with air quotes over here, from Tekken for like 10 years, right? I actually just started playing again, kind of seriously again, about 4 months ago. Texas Showdown. That's when I decided, let me give this another shot. But
oh,
I first started playing Tekken with Tekken 2 back in India. One of my friends, we used to play cricket together. I know it's the most Indian thing ever, but he had a PlayStation 1, which, they didn't officially sell those in India. So, he had his ways and he got one. And, we found this game, hey, Tekken 2, what's this about? And I loved it. I was playing Yoshimitsu at the time. I remember being enamored by two things. One, the Tekken's opening cinematic video, which was just insane,
yeah.
and then two, Yoshimitsu and his stage. It was just nuts.
Oh
Then he had
yeah.
Tekken 3. I saw him bust out Eddie. I was like, whoa, he can do crazy stuff. I had no interest in Eddie at the time. I was still a Yoshi guy. Then one day, and I really loved the game. Right? I just enjoyed it, but I wasn't that good at it. And one day I was in an arcade, this 5-story tall, huge arcade in India. Okay, and they had Tekken 2 there, and I ran out of time when picking my character, and I accidentally picked Lei Wulong, and
Wow.
and I was a huge Jackie Chan fan back then, now as well. Obviously, people know Lei to be the Jackie Chan ripoff, so to speak. And the only thing I learned that entire time was doing this move called down back 4-4, also known as the rave spin. Okay, it's this really cheap sweep that he has, and it was even better in that game. And pretty much that's what I did against the computer the whole time. I was like, you know what, I kind of like this. And I went back, played a bit, actually learned about the character, and loved it. I
Wow.
remember a long time ago thinking, you know what, it'd be insane. This guy is exactly like Jackie Chan. He has so many animal stances, and this is in a game in the early to mid 90s. Like that's unheard of. It's so complex. It would be insane if I could actually go up and master all of that. And and just wanting that drive really made me want to learn the game more. So once I moved here to the U.S.
Hmm.
to Houston specifically in late 1999, early 2000, I lived in Sugarland. I went to First Colony Mall and we have a Tilt arcade over there. That's where I met a lot of the Houston legends. Okay, we're talking about Crow, T-Cal. T-Cal's in LA right now. Devil Jim, you see him sometimes, still in Houston over here.
Hmm.
Just all kinds of players. And that's when I started playing Lei. One of my friends from high school, kind of taught me the basics. He'd get his PS2 over to my house and we'd play. And I mean, it paid off, right? Eventually, I played more and more, leading up to Tekken 5. Tekken 5 is when I started getting super serious into it. And I think at that time I said, hey, I think I can figure this out, and ended up becoming arguably, according to some people, a top one or two lay in the U.S. at that time. So that was awesome. So I really appreciated that. So that's what got me into Tekken, and I really enjoyed it.
Damn. Wow. 'Cause I remember a while ago I was looking you up on online, and I was like, let's see, Vineet Tekken, and then like it was a post, I saw a post from I think it was Devil Jim back from 2006, and he's like, I took Vineet's cell phone and said, first, if you want it back, you got to beat me 5 times, and then he did it in one try. I was like, oh man.
I actually know what thread that's about. So you're actually referring to Tekken Zaibatsu, and you're referring to a thread I had created in the lay forum over there,
Hmm.
because we're all trying to figure out who the top lay players were in the U.S. back then. And most of us in that thread still talk to each other, by the way.
Oh
We met
wow.
up at Evo, we met up in San Jose last month at Strong Style. So it's kind of funny you say that. Even though that's 2006, we still talk to each other all the time today.
Wow. That is, that's pretty awesome, man. Because I mean, like the thing is like you say you've been retired for quote unquote retired for 10 years, but I mean you wouldn't be able to tell. It's kind of funny because we met each other actually at Texas Showdown, which was actually my first major tournament, and I was like, yo man, this guy he seems pretty good. and
Well, yeah, you say that, right? But I like to say the rabbit hole goes way deeper than people think, right? Because I will look good to a certain sect of players, but I know that I'm nowhere near the level that I was back then, because back then I could go toe to toe with anyone and felt confident doing so.
mm-hmm,
The level of just pure time you need now
mm-hmm.
to get to that level again is insane, right? So I can't do that anymore like I did back then. I don't feel
uh,
confident going against any single person like I did back then, which is why it's a very different state. Right? We're talking about, and keep in mind, the people I played with back in, especially in T5 days, I played with a two-time Evo champion. He's the one who taught me how to play. And my training partner, Core, was also an Evo champion later on. So like
uh,
that's a level of competition and practice, right? So getting away from that, it's a very different very different time, but still fun to play and to teach people, and just get some casual games here and there.
oh yeah, man, no doubt. So, what kind of games do you play outside of Tekken?
So I do enjoy my games. I don't have as much time anymore these past few years, but so fighting games is always first to me. But sticking with fighting games,
Oh yeah.
Third Strike is a game that I actually played a lot. I played pretty competitively as well. I don't know if you're familiar. I went kind of viral a few months ago at Showdown actually because I somehow managed to beat Chris G
Oh
in a Third
wow.
Strike, and that video, someone got a video of him walking up the arcade, getting salty, not shaking my hand, and walking away,
Oh
which I thought
man.
was amazing. So that was kind of cool. I'm surprised you haven't seen that. I thought most people already saw that. I'll
Nah,
show that to you
man.
sometime. But
Like,
that's my little Third Strike claim to fame. But no, I've been playing Third Strike since about 2004, maybe 2005. So
mm,
that's fun,
okay.
but not at the level that I did Tekken. Um, then the other fighting games too. Like I enjoyed Arcana Hard, Guilty Gear back in the day, a bunch of stuff. It's always fun.
Okay.
Then outside fighting games, recently, well, 2016, I was playing Overwatch like 17 hours a day, I think, when it
Really?
first dropped. It was nuts. Then obviously, like most people my age, we played Counter Strike and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Just a bit of my first competitive game was actually DDR, Dance Dance Revolution.
Really?
I
DDR?
was
Really?
I was the University of Houston champion back in 2003 or 2004, one of those two. So that was my like, all right, I'm in shape, I can play DDR. But once you fall off, you're done.
Oh man. I know this is gonna seem a little off topic, but I want to go back to like some like you were talking about Third Strike. At who was your main character in Third Strike? Like who did you play
Akuma.
with? Akuma.
My main character, yep, Akuma 100%. I just loved the biggest thing about him that I enjoyed was doing Raging Demon setups. That was my main thing. So, Akuma all the way.
Okay. How did you feel about Akuma being put in Tekken 7?
Dumb. I mean, no, it's good. It's good for the game. It brings people together. As a Tekken player, I really dislike the fact that he moves away from pure fundamentals. But that's
Mm-hmm.
me being old, right? Because the real answer is I need to learn to adapt like everyone else has. Uh, but that being said, as a pure Tekken fundamental kind of person, it's very unnerving having to deal with a character so out of sync, a meter character, right? A character that has an invincible uppercut, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's different, it's tough, but I understand he's in the game. He's brought a lot more people into the game, so big picture, I have no problem with it.
Yeah. Speaking of like stuff that they're adding to the game, what do you? I mean, we don't really know a whole lot. At least I know I don't know a whole lot about season three. But what do you think? Like, I mean, like especially about like Leroy, and then you have Zafina coming back, stuff like that. Like, what do you think?
Leroy Zafina, I've never liked Zafina as a character. I'm surprised she made it back, but it's
Yeah.
good for the people that enjoy her. I would imagine Ganryu should come back more than likely, since they are doing new characters. Uh, Leroy looks awesome. Yeah, I think everyone loves Leroy. The feedback's been great. The one concern I have about more characters, and we've gotten into some conversations with differing viewpoints, right? On the one hand, people want more characters because that makes the game last longer, right?
Hmm.
Um, and the game needs to last. It's a great game. This game is bringing people together. Haven't had a Tekken this live in a long time. But the way you make a game last is by having more characters.
Yeah.
On the other hand, okay, Tekken is a game where you have to know character matchups, and there are so many characters in this game
Yeah.
to where it's getting tougher and tougher for the layman to learn, right? So, for example, the reason why I will never be back to a pro level player is because I don't have that kind of time to learn all these other, these obscure ducks and stuff, right? Like, for example, I every time I'm playing, Tyler has to tell me, oh yeah, this is minus whatever, oh, like things that I would just never know. So that's a very tough challenge, right? And not just that, there needs to be lead time as well, right? Because if you release, let's say three new characters, you have to have the game go for at least another year and a half, 2 years for take advantage of it. Otherwise, it's wasted money before the next, Tekken Cross Street Fighter or Tekken 8 or whatever comes out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Like me right now, I was already in a having problems because like frame data itself is like a completely new world to me that I just dipped my toe into, and I'm like, oh man, this is a lot to learn like frame data, learn exactly. I mean, it all links together, right? Because then you learn how to punish things successfully. You can be a little bit more confident about knowing which moves to do and when and stuff like that. But for me, yeah, like you adding more characters, yeah, you're right. It kind of muddies the waters a little bit, but like you said, it injects new life into the game. It injects new life, and it brings people in who weren't necessarily interested in the game before. They're like, oh, well, I like that character. I'll try that. Like maybe if
Sure.
they had added, Ferritor in Mortal Kombat 11, I'd be playing the game. But since they didn't, I'm not. But if they do, I'll be playing the game. So yeah. All right, one more question about other games, and then we're gonna move on. But okay, so you were playing Overwatch for a hot minute. Who did you play in Overwatch?
I was one of those Genji mains, but a season one Genji main, mind you. So I just enjoyed him. I love the character. It was kind of funny because the other FPS I played a lot before Overwatch was Borderlands 2. The
Mm-hmm.
character I played was Zero. Zero
Me too.
is a robot that has a dash, right? And then once he kills it, reset. I mean, the parallels were way too much. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, Genji just felt like a natural, progression. But that being said, even though I'm a Genji main, Overwatch is very important to, work with the flow, work with your team, pick counter matchups, that sort of thing. So, I could pick up pretty much whoever, but my preference was always Genji, just because, yep, that's the Genji main.
Yeah, I feel that, yo. I was a Zero fan when Borderlands 2 came out. I really liked Zero too. What was the move? What was it? The move that he did, like that, reset the thing, was a many must fall. When like you kill somebody and resets the timer and you
Mhm.
just zip from one guy to the other.
Yep.
Man, but then
And
what?
that's the
What?
Overwatch has the exact same thing, right?
Yeah,
Once you slash, once you kill someone with a slash, it resets, and you go for it again. I'm like, this is a little too, this is a little borrowed, but
okay.
I'm down with it.
I did not know that actually.
Yep.
I did not know that. That was something I didn't know. I was like, I just couldn't. I really liked Genji. I thought it was a really cool character, but I just couldn't use him properly. I felt just no. But man, when the game started out, I mean, he was like the number one way to counter fighting Bastion. I mean, my God, that,
Right.
especially if you're playing on console. But uh, yeah, man. Okay. So I know you actually you actually have a job outside of Tekken. So what exactly do you do? Like what is your job?
Yeah, I guess we could call it a job. Yeah, my career is in accounting, so I'm a CPA. Kids in the chat, for those who don't know, that's the Certified Public Accountant. Specifically, I'm a tax supervisor. I work in what's called the Private Client Services of Tax. I know a lot of boring mumbo jumbo here and there, but bottom line is, that's my career. I'm an accountant. I went to school for accounting. I work at a very, very large firm that's in pretty much every country in the world.
Oh wow.
So yeah, that keeps me busy. That's what funds my travels and kind of keeps me busy.
Wow. Okay. So like do you enjoy it? Like is it like I mean, was that something that you set out to do from like a younger age, or was it something that you kind of like eventually just kind of grew into?
Well, I mean, I kind of went into it a little bit. So most accountants, you find they don't actually start out as accountants. That's just the way it is.
Hmm.
In college, I was an engineering major, but then I switched from engineering to accounting just because once you're into college, you kind of get a better idea and perspective of the business world. Talk about job stability, that kind of stuff. So I just realized that it's a lot more stable way to kind of make some good money and always kind of be in the working field. Uh, but I make it work for me, right? I mean, for example, I even have esports clients and stuff, so it's kind of funny that it all kind of it comes full circle.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Well, one of the guys in the chat says, "Is this the job that allows him to body kids in Gucci shades?"
I feel like even if I didn't have a job, I'd still body kiss and Gucci shades. But yep, this is part of it. The Gucci shade. It's kind of funny. I I went to Vegas. I won like $600 gambling, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna spend this right now on like one pair of sunglasses or something like that. I just went to the store, bought them next week at that what was it? The Senpai's tournament.
Yeah.
'Cause that story, right? So I walked in with my sunglasses. I was there. I came from work, obviously, so I had my blazer and my work clothes on. And going back and putting my sunglasses in my car was obvious. It was a little too obvious. So yeah,
Yeah.
screw it. I'm just gonna wear my sunglasses and win this tournament real
Oh
quick.
my God, this guy played the whole tournament in sunglasses and a suit, yo. I was like, oh man.
It's called feeling myself.
Yeah, I was like, yo, this guy's playing with one hand right now, yo. He's really feeling himself. Oh my goodness. Oh. So like, I mean, so have you ever considered like going full on pro gamer? Like, did that ever like be like was that ever a thing for you where you're just like, you know what, maybe I should like take this to the next level?
Well, as a pipe dream, yes. But again, we're talking about one, we're talking about fighting games, right? So that's a very different deal. And two, at my level, I'm not that top level like I was, and definitely not the top level that it takes to become a pro gamer. But logistically, if you think about it, right, even if you do go pro gamer in terms of actual gaming itself, that means making money by winning and being good at games.
Hmm.
What it takes to do that in fighting games is astronomically tough, right? And again, as I mentioned, I'm a CPA. My career it gets me in a good position as it is right now. That being said, what would be pretty awesome is, making a career out of things like streaming and things of that nature, right? Doing something more ancillary to just going out there, winning tournaments, and getting money for just being that competitive tournament player. That over there is very tough. Only a few people in the US can do that for fighting games, right? Justin Wong does that on the Tekken side. Who does that? Anakin obviously does that over there.
Hmm.
But beyond that, I mean, it's tough, man. Like it's look at the prize pools for tournaments, right? For games like Tekken,
Hmm.
it's just not up there. You have to get salaried. But my fear with that is always what's the exit strategy, right? What happens when your game is no longer relevant? What happens when you're no longer relevant? How do
Mm.
you still keep that going? So one way to do that, like I said, is by streaming or doing some sort of content creation, right? So people in the community like Markman have done that. The California guys always have their things that they're doing. So there are ways to do it, but it's just not for me. It doesn't make any sense, right? For me, I'd much rather work like I do, right? I mean, it's my career. It's going to keep me set pretty much, for the foreseeable future,
Oh yeah.
but still allows me time to play the games I enjoy. And I'm just a casual player now, so this is just fun for me.
This guy. Oh man. Like he's a casual player, yet he plays like he's hardcore, man. What a guy. Oh my
Uh,
goodness. Oh man. So do you like you're so Lei Wulong is your main. Do you have any other characters that you've been looking at that maybe like you could picture yourself being like, yeah, I could main that character or I could play that character like as you know.
well, so yeah, I played. I always enjoyed playing a bit of Feng. Well, I don't know if enjoy is the best word for it. He's the character that I played back in the day that I could on, just as a not even a backup, but just as someone I feel I should learn the game with. So I played a bit of Feng over here, and I could do that still, but not at the same level I can with Lei. Because again, Lei was like I was known for him, right? I mean, people actually knew of me and as a Lei player. Nowadays that's with other characters I just can't do something and still win, right? I could play a very basic game, but I can't play a very creative game.
Mm.
um so that's why he's always my main, but in order to be a good Tekken player you have to be able to pick up any character you want, right? So in Tekken 7 not as much, but most other Tekkens I can kind of play at every other character to a certain level, just not a top level. uh that being said, I've always enjoyed playing Mishimas. They're just fun characters to play. And lately I've been looking at Shaheen just
Oh
because I
yeah.
feel like representing the people, man. Yeah.
Oh, I feel you, man. I feel you.
But
All right. Oh, we got a question from Tempest To. He says the thing is, do you feel like you're marketable enough to get sponsorship and whatnot?
I feel I could get, well, okay, this is tooting my own horn a bit, right? I mean, the one thing about gamers, you have very good gamers that unfortunately don't have market, presentability.
Hmm.
You have not so great gamers who can actually go out there and talk and represent themselves. I feel I can do that.
Hmm.
Um, and they of course have sometimes that beautiful mix of, and I'll give you a great example. It's in the Tekken, right? Bronson back in California, one of my boys. He is a great gamer historically, and he's a very personable, figure as well. So that's a great combination right there, right?
Yeah.
So they can do that. For me, I feel if I put time into it, I probably could. The market's a little bit tapped out right now, right? I mean, people, if every day people have their streams on Tekken, right? That's kind of the main way to become marketable. Um, I could, but is it worth it? I don't know if it's worth it for me because again, do I need to be sponsored and going out for these tournaments here and there? I don't know if I do. I mean, it's something I just enjoy playing at my own time. Like we're very fortunate in Houston to where we have some of the best players. As I mentioned earlier, and people in the stream, if you don't know, the guy who taught me how to play is a two-time Evo champion, and my training partner was also taught by him, or training partner back then was another one-time Evo champion, right? So we have these amazing players here in Houston that I can just go play them anytime I want, right? So I don't really know if I need to be sponsored, and I'm not really hungry enough to go out there and try to, do things that big. Plus, I'm just not a competitive person anymore in nature either, I don't think.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
But that being said, that's talking about sponsorship. But if
Hmm.
I were to, monetize esports in any sense, it wouldn't be through sponsorships. It would be something I would do myself, such as go out there and create some content or something like that.
Hmm. So what kind of content would you be creating? Like if you were going to do that, what would you be doing? Like.
Great question. I have no idea. Uh, Probably for a start something label long related, but really more fundamental tech and stuff, and also maybe use a bit of my skill set, right? My CPA skill set. So as I mentioned, I am a tax professional, and now that esports is becoming a bigger thing,
Oh
you'll
yeah.
find that there are finance questions that deal with esports all the time. So I'd kind of love to merge the two together. I think we'll get there. We're not fully there yet, but that is something I've actually considered, talking about and getting started as well. That being said, the other thing I would also do is, again, shout out to Bronson, just like he does in California. I'd like to do something similar in Texas as well, because as far as I know, we don't really stream the top players, right?
Hmm.
They don't really stream, but we get together and play offline all the time. So I brought it up, and we might start doing that eventually, where we'll
Oh.
get together with the guys. We have this amazing setup at Rich's house when he invites us, where he has a big screen that's hooked up, that gets a direct feed, and then we're playing on the monitors, and it's just a great setup. So if we could get that on stream as well, I think it's something people would appreciate.
Wow. Okay. So, in terms of like playing on and off, like, do you prefer to play online or offline? Because I know there are some people who I've approached in the past that have been, I'd be like, hey man, what's your PlayStation ID, or what's your Steam ID, or in the very very rare case, what's your Xbox Live gamer tag? And they'll be like, nah, bro, I don't play online. That's just not what I do. I'm like, oh really? I mean, I guess I can kind of understand it, but what do you prefer? You prefer like offline, or or
I prefer a damn arcade if I can, right? But I mean, but we'll obviously that situation is different now, so I'll take offline where I can. And in the rare situation, I'll play online as well. I'll jump on here and there now and then. But offline is what it should be your go-to, right? I mean, even if you're not a competitive player,
mhm.
to showcase your skills best, offline is the way to go.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Okay. Yeah. I kind of like. I mean, yeah. Online gives you the greatest accessibility, but yeah, off. I've noticed that there are a lot of what I would consider a lot of the shenanigans and chicanery that happen online don't really happen offline as often. So
Right.
yeah. So case in point, I was playing earlier today, and I had a I was at the end of a match, and I had thrown somebody into a tailspin. They had like almost no health left, and I went for the rage art, and the game completely dropped my input, and I did like a down two or something. I'm like, I didn't even press down, and then of course I lost right after that. So
Oh yeah, I don't take online too. I mean, you really shouldn't. It's good for matchup practice. That's what I always tell people, right? Play online to learn, to get exposure to different play styles maybe, and just to get exposure to different characters. But don't forget that offline. Like I try to play offline at least once a week if I can.
oh yeah,
Yep.
wow, okay. I'm gonna have to step it up. I'm at currently at a zero for per week. But yeah. So in terms of like your in terms of your journey through Tekken,
Hmm.
what do you think have been like some of your biggest challenges going forward?
I don't think well, let me take it back. The biggest challenge I've had was when I actually wanted to be good at Tekken, but I realized that my career came first. So there was this small portion where I still wanted to be really good at Tekken, but I didn't have the time to invest to become good at it, to stay good at it. So I just assumed that I was still this great player, and I wasn't at all. So when I finally started realizing that, man, these people, there was a time that if you could beat me in Tekken, I would know who you are, right? Like we know you, and that time is long gone. But the biggest challenge was kind of coming face to face with the fact that, yeah, I'm gonna lose to unknowns now. That means I'm not as good as I was back then, and that's okay. The understanding that that's okay part, that was a bit of a challenge. But once I got through it, I'm like, you know what? That's all right. I'm okay with this career here instead.
Wow, that's pretty cool, man. Like, yeah, I mean, like, cause I mean, I spend all my time losing to unknowns, but then again, then every once in a while I'll play somebody like somebody like you, or I played one of the first people I ever played at tournament was I actually played Core. He was one of the very first people I ever played, and I was like, oh man, here we go, and like Core, and everybody's like, yo, you're playing Core, and I was like, yeah, man, who's that?
Oh, core, that's scrub. Ah, you'll be all right.
Yeah, it's like, oh, and then immediately got bodied. I was like, oh man. He's like, yeah, you know that guy was an Evo champion, right? I was like, what? Why are they putting me against
Yeah,
people like him?
that's the guy who made me good at Tekken, man.
Oh my god. Oh man. Oh, yeah, I
Uh,
believe it. I believe it. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, what do you feel have been some of your biggest advantages?
Biggest advantage. I actually, you know what? I touched on it a little bit earlier. Biggest advantage is having these amazing players to play with.
Mm-hmm.
Not really online BS, but more just pure fundamentals, right? So that's going to take you far. And then of course, having decent online now as well is kind of pretty good because you still get character knowledge. You still get to see some, let's say, alternative playstyles, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, just having access to players, Evo champs, right?
Yeah.
I- And offline, anytime I want. Hey man, you gotta put some games. Okay, let's set it up and let's play. That's just an amazing advantage, and I'm really envious of people. Oh, sorry, not envious. I'm not envious of anyone. I feel bad for people that that don't get that, and people told me that, hey, I'm really envious of you because you can kind of do this whenever you want. And I sat down and thought about it, like, yeah, man, not many people can say that, right? Even in Houston, you can't just be someone and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go play this Evo champs. It doesn't work that way. Like,
Yeah.
these are people that have their own lives too. So again, just having that, that option is amazing.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, like, the funny thing is that I just figured out that there was a scene here in Dallas, maybe like right after Texas Showdown, like during right at the beginning of Texas Showdown, because I drove up there to Houston, and I saw some guys walking through the parking lot, and I was like, "Hey, where you guys going?" And it's like, "Oh, we're going to Texas Showdown." I was like, "Oh, great, I am too. Where you guys from?" "We're from Austin." So I met like a bunch of the guys from the Austin crew, and they're like, "Yo,
Mhm.
do you know anybody from the Dallas crew?" And I was like, we there's a crew in Dallas."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dallas plays. In fact, so one of my favorite players in the U.S. He lives in Dallas. He doesn't play any, but he was probably at one point at least one of the best tag players, or the best tag player in the U.S. Tag one. This guy called
Wow.
Jop, Jop. So he's in Dallas. He doesn't come out and play anymore though. But that's like one of the OG legends, and one of my boys there in Dallas. Other than that, I think Ice Cold Edge, he's been going strong for a while, so he's over there now.
Oh yeah.
There's just a pretty good scene over there. So Texas in general is we always say Texas is too strong, and hopefully that still stands.
Yeah. I mean, like, man, like, there's so many. I mean, like, uh, yeah, like, Ice Cold, man. I mean, I went over there for the first time, and I mean, like, I would consider. I mean, I don't like want to sound like too like over, but like, I would consider him and you like two of my like mentors when it comes to like learning Tekken, because I remember that I'll never forget this for as long as I live. When we were at what was it, DreamHack, and you were playing me, and then you switched to Fengway, and you look this guy. I swear to everybody, he looks me in my eyes and he goes, "Fengway exposes fundamental flaws."
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and he proceeded to expose all my fundamental flaws. Oh man, that was. I mean, despite the fact that I was getting torn up, I felt like I learned a lot about what I was doing. It's like, don't just do random things. Like, do things with a purpose. Like, it's better to have things be blocked than to just whiff. And I used to do that all the time. I used to throw moves out hoping people would walk into them. And I'm like, oh man, I hope he walks into them. Yeah,
No, no, that's the online BS right there. Most
yeah.
most players they won't. Most good players they won't just do that.
Oh man. So in it, so you know a bunch of different players, like all across, like I mean, all over the place. So are there any particular players that inspire you?
Players that inspire me. Oh man. Yeah, probably my mentors. I mean, I don't know any new players as much anymore, unfortunately. So I don't know about any new inspirations. But
Mm-hmm.
going back to the Houston guys as well, right? Like I mentioned earlier, the Evo winners here in Houston are the ones that always kind of inspired me and got me to play better. Especially Core, because he's the guy. Even though we both had the same teacher, he's the guy who I'd go over to his house, and we'd play in summers, when we were like in our early 20s, late, like 19, 20, 21.
Mm.
I'd play him for like 8 hours straight. His sister
Wow.
would make me some tea. His brother would, kind of talk, we'd play a little bit less as well. But we just played for 8 hours straight. And he was much, much, much better than I was, right? I mean, he still is. So he was definitely an inspiration. On my Tekken Zaibatsu, my signature was always, I want to win. and
Hmm.
he would always kind of remind me of that every single time, right? So kind of kept me going, kept me strong, really, upped on my fundamentals to where, I feel like confident I can go play and, not make a fool of myself, against pretty much whoever. So, yep, definitely those two guys.
Awesome. So, like looking back, I know like do you feel like a certain kind of I know because a certain amount of nostalgia looking back on like those kinds of like times when you were we had enough time to actually sit down and really grind it out, like really play the game the way you wanted to, you know, because that's how I
Yeah.
feel a lot. But I'm like you expand on that a little bit, you know.
Yeah, well, so wait, so what's your question exactly? Let me make
I'm
sure I
just like,
understand your question.
because I mean, like, this is like when you're looking back, you feel like a certain amount of nostalgia,
Right.
oh, in regards to those like that time when you could play the game for like 8 hours straight, you know.
Yeah, if we talk about nostalgia, the biggest things and basically that era would breed a much better class of player, right? Because now, even though we have more players,
Hmm.
we unfortunately also have a lot of very bad players. That being said, there's a lot more access to information, so there's also players that can get to a decent level much quicker than most. But so we had a few arcades back then, right? So we would have Stargate, which is one of Houston's most historical fighting game arcades, run by CMUT or Chris Wong. Shout outs to CMUT. So at this arcade, that's where most of us learned how to play Street Fighter, Marvel, Tekken in my case. And then another arcade would be Galleria, right? The tilt at the Galleria in the T5 days especially was when we would hold all these weeklies. Weeklies by word of mouth, not even like an actual post. And this is, before Facebook, right? I mean, most of us
Oh,
didn't even have text plans. So we would get like 40 people to an arcade one cabinet only weekly. And so that right there, right, was just amazing. So having the ability to get those kind of crowds on a weekly basis, right?
mm-hmm.
To drive to Galleria. Galleria is one of our biggest malls that we have here in all this traffic, and play this entire tournament in one day itself, double elimination tournament. That's awesome.
Wow,
And of course, we had players like Crow Core, Machina. I mean, just all the best players in Houston, in Texas, really.
man, man, like that's like trial by fire, man. Like that's some serious stuff. Like I have to make some more trips out there to Houston. I'm gonna have to start I'm double residing in Houston and Dallas to try to get my skills up, man. Jesus. Uh, so I know you use like a I've never seen you use and not in person at least ever use like a stick regularly, but so there are like a whole bunch of different controllers. There's like of course like the basic pad, the stick, the what's called arcade stick, the hitbox, and now we got like the cross up or whatever. Like so, what process like did you go through when you were like deciding which control scheme that you like the best?
Well, mine's pretty simple, right? So originally, when I was in India, I would play on a PS1 pad, and then I would play on a Japanese stick in the arcade. When I moved over here, I moved to an American stick in the Tekken Tag 1 cabinets, and then we would also have these big Moz sticks, if you know what those are. These are these very expensive, very huge American sticks with no gate, a circle gate rather, or I guess we call it perfect 360. So I play on American sticks as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then as time progressed, Japanese sticks made a comeback. Tekken 5.0 rather, when you bought the game, you could spend $100, you get the game for $50, and then you get this amazing Hori stick as well.
Oh,
So we learned how to play a bit on stick. But that being said, at my highest level, I would play on a PS2 pad just because I just felt comfortable doing so. But for portions, I played on many different kind of sticks as well. But I'm one of those guys. I'm not too picky, man. I know a lot of people their knowledge for sticks doesn't correlate to their knowledge of the game. And what I mean by that is basically they spend more time trying to fine tune the parts, fine tune the buttons, fine tune the springs and all that stuff.
mm-hmm.
But I'm like, man, that's fine, but try to fine tune your skills instead, right? Why don't we work on that first, and the rest kind of comes to you naturally. For example, the tournament we just played last week, the one that I won,
Yeah,
I just borrowed some guy's controller and I played in that some guy's controller the whole time, right?
yeah.
So there's no amount of, oh, my springs feel a bit off or this and that. No, man, skills come first. Okay, focus on that, and then just if anything else, just be consistent with what you're playing on, right? I mean, don't go switching around this here and there, here and there. Just pick something, work with that, and then move forward. And that's kind of the way I go about it. Now, the reason I like to use a PS2 pad is I just like to it's easier to travel with, right? I mean, I can just take it anywhere I want. I have like 12 fight sticks. I mean, I have a bunch of fight sticks
Wow.
around here somewhere. Uh, but those are for the different games I played, like Third Strike and stuff like that. But even Tekken, I feel comfortable with most characters on stick.
Hmm.
But Lei, I specifically prefer controller, I think. Oh, PS Pad rather.
Okay, cool. That's bad. Like, so are you using like you're using a PS2 controller like right now, like usually, or
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just
wow,
like I
that
said,
is awesome.
the biggest reason is it's just easy to take with me, right? I mean, if I do go anywhere, like I went through Evo, I'm not lugging around this big dragon stick that I have. And by the way, I use a dragon now when I do play, just because it's the one that most resembles a real arcade, right?
Ah,
The biggest challenge for me was with home sticks, is sitting there and playing with it, right? So uh, in the old Evos, you would see most people they would like either put the stick on the floor, not on the lap, or take another chair and you sit on one chair, have the other chair in front of you, and put the stick on that chair, right? So just to make it more arcade style. Nowadays, most people can play with the stick on their laps. I still can't too well, but the the Combat Dragon is one that actually lets me just put that stick over there. It doesn't move. It sounds good. So this is like a shout out to Comba. So if you want to send me a check, Comba, feel free.
oh man. So have you ever thought about like moving on to? I mean, ever trying out like have you thought about or tried a hitbox in the past? Like, what do you think about that?
I mean, for people that do it, kudos to you, right? So old me would say this is stupid, but new me kind of appreciates the time it takes to, to learn that kind of stuff. Um, for me, no, it makes zero sense for me. I can barely retain interest to the game itself, like, just to
Mm,
find time to sit down and play.
mm-hmm.
So to play a whole new controller style, no, that's not really for me.
Yeah, I feel that like 100%. Yeah, like when you put it that way. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, in the same vein, what do you find the most interesting about learning a fighting game? Like, what was the most appealing thing about it to you?
So it depends on which game it is, right? I treat different games in a different way. Uh, the most appealing thing for me about a fighting game is one, having a crowd, and then two, beating people in front of that crowd. I know that sounds very simple, right? But that's kind of, and this really goes back to the arcade days, right? I mean, we used to send people back to the change machine all the time. That's kind of what makes you keep going, right? Um, that's one thing I always liked about fighting games. Now, challenges are good, right? I mean, really, some you don't want a game that's too overly simple, right? You want some sort of interesting mechanics, but at the same time something that has a pure fundamental base as well. I'm not so much a fan, like even look at sticking to the Tekken theme, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so much a fan of the games after 5, although I like 6.0, which was an arcade only game. That was just a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been less a fan of games that have a lot more input lag. Now, I'm not an expert. My understanding, and someone please correct me if I'm wrong, was that they added input lag into games so where when you play online it has less of an effect. I could be completely wrong, but I remember someone telling me that a long time ago. So I get it in the grand scheme, it's a good thing. But I hate the feeling that when I'm playing when I'm playing a game, what I'm doing isn't happening instantly, right? It felt like going from driving a stick shift in Tekken 5 to driving, an automatic with paddles or something for Tekken 6 and beyond.
Mm. So, how did you feel about like some of the other like the features that features they added in like Tekken 6, like for instance, like the rage mechanic.
Yeah, also, so I remember saying this with the day Tekken 6 dropped, and we were very lucky in Houston because we actually had a 6.0 cabinet, which I think only two or maybe three existed in the US. Well, we had two of them in Houston, which I thought was insane. So I remember saying Harada is a genius for this, right? Because juggles were considered pretty hard when Tekken 5. I don't know. I mean, I didn't think so, but a lot of people thought so, right?
Hmm.
So how does the game developer go, you know what? How do we make this game easier and yet flashier at the same time? In comes the bound mechanics, right? Because all bound did was, you're doing this juggle. Now let's do this big move that really can't miss to knock you down. Okay. And
Hmm.
now that you're down, I have my sweet time to finish this combo. Okay. So but it just looked so much flashier because the combo technically looked like a longer combo. It probably was a longer combo. So I get it from the marketing standpoint. Me personally, I wasn't a huge fan of bounce, but again, that's just me being old. And Rage, I was never a fan of. I mean, not pure Rage, especially not 6.0 Rage, because that was nuts. But you need those sort of things to bring in new crowds, and without that, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, I remember when Tekken 7 dropped. I remember complaining a lot about Rage Arts. Like I used to complain. I was like, "Oh, why did you put this in the game, Harada?" But I mean,
Yeah, that was one that was Rage Arts were tough for me when it first came out, but now honestly, I use it so much. I actually use punish very often. Like if you start whiffing a move, I'm just gonna do a Rage Art and it's gonna eat right through it. The one thing I don't like about T7 uh, is the throw system, right? They made the throw breaking so easy, which again, they did it because they have to bring in new players. But at the same time, I feel like if people are going to take the time to learn the game, they can learn the throw breaks. I know they still have command throws and stuff,
yeah,
but making the one and two throw be the same for natural throws was kind of weird to me. But and a lot of people have that complaint, but it
yeah.
is what it is.
I kind of agree. I kind of agree with that. I when I came into Tekken 7, and everybody was like, "Well, they basically they uncomplicated the whole throw system." I was like, "Wait, what do you mean?" Well, all you got to do, regardless of what side it's on, whether it's like what is like a 1+3 or a 2+4, you can just press like one and you'll break the throw. And I was like, really?
Yeah, I mean, now don't get me wrong. I think that's a bit of a hindrance, right? Because the majority of us who learn how to break throws will still have an advantage because of things like command throws, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now the people that don't bother looking at hands, well, you might just, you're probably just guessing with the 1+2s or the one command throw or two command throws. So, I'm so about it, but it doesn't really bother me as much because I already know how to break throws either
Mm-hmm.
ways. But I can see it being a hindrance for people that are trying to learn the game now.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you, man. I know we probably touched on this a little bit earlier, but what was it like reaching a level where you were just like completely like demolishing everybody else?
Well, so there was no level. I'd never reached a level where I was demolishing everyone, right? Just to be clear, I was never that good. I would love to have been, but I definitely felt confident, right? So I think back in DR, the one regret I have is I never really traveled as much as I should have. I kind of really wish I did travel more. We had the fortune of people coming to us because of us having evil winners, right? So they just come to us and we play them. But I remember every summer I would just get better and better because I had more time to play. And again, I would play with Core. He's the one who taught me how to, get good.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one summer specifically, I used this term back then called ascension, right? I just felt like I had ascended. I went from being this okay guy to being confident that, hey man, I could like actually take people and I feel really strong about this. I remember so in Houston, I was doing work on a lot of people that were regarded as very good, and that's in a city where we already had great people to begin with. Then I went to Dallas for I think it was an MLG tournament sponsored by McDonald's or something, and this was Tekken 5. They had a DR cabinet and they had 5.0 on PS2s, and I ended up having to play Gin Master, and while I lost the set, Jin Master was a very, very, very well-known player back then, and I was a nobody. But I beat him one game. Even the second game was super close, but I beat him this one game, and everyone's like, "Whoa, what the hell?" And that was kind of like when people started to take notice that, hey, man, this guy can actually beat someone. And then we would have people come to Houston all the time to kind of challenge our top players, and they pretty much cash these hands, right? So I felt pretty confident. But that being said, I knew I still had a lot more to learn in the game,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of how confident I felt. If I felt that great, I would be winning Evos, right? Obviously, I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt pretty good. Like there was definitely there was definitely a line where I was like, oh yeah, I'm on the other side of this line now. I feel like I can do really really well, and I would do really well.
Wow. Yeah, man. I'm still working on it. But so actually, like, what do you recommend for people who are like trying to get to that point where, like, I mean, where they're on the other side of that line?
I'm sorry. What do you mean?
Like, you said you were on the other side of the line where you're just like, yeah, you're feeling really good and confident, right?
Hmm.
Like, what do you recommend, like, for people like basically like me who are still learning the game? They're still like they're not completely because sometimes you're playing a game, especially a game like Tekken that's kind of difficult, and I mean it's you feel sometimes like you like you lose like a match or something like that. And I think that's part of the problem is that sometimes you focus more on winning instead of like actually learning the game. Cause and then sometimes it slips in. You feel like I'm not winning enough matches, and you feel like a lost cause because you don't feel like you're getting any better. You don't feel like you're winning enough matches, and you feel like
Yeah,
winning is the only thing that matters. You know. So
so
what would
that's
you
natural,
recommend?
and to a certain extent, right? I mean, Tekken is a game of winning, right? So you do want to try to win your games when you can. But that being said, you focus on fundamentals, right? You focus on the lessons you learn by winning or losing, while hopefully still trying to win.
Hmm.
The biggest advice I can give people is try to play people that are fundamentally good. I mean, like good players. I don't mean, oh, he's a so and so whatever rank online. None of that stuff matters, right? I mean, you want to play people that are regarded as top players in the community, right? If they're nice enough to teach you, and keep a small circle of players that will keep making you better, making your fundamentals better. That being said, you still want to go probably, I guess, online and try to get different character matchups, but try to go back to the same people that will elevate your skill set, not make you do dumb stuff. More importantly, people that'll punish you for doing dumb stuff,
Oh yeah,
and that's when you learn how to play real Tekken.
the true form of Tekken. So speaking of like good players, who do you think is the best Tekken player right now?
Oh, that's easy. It's Arslan Ush.
Oh yeah,
No brainer.
it's a no-brainer. Not even thinking about it, man.
No, no. I mean, dude, if you think otherwise, you are dumb. I mean, simple as that. Like the guy's like done it all. I mean, there's given this circumstance. I mean, the storyline behind it itself is insane, right? But everyone's in agreement right now. Um, just having someone that would with the limited experience that he has, in terms of no online or anything like that, just pure arcade in this day and age, then go to Japan, win an Evo Japan, which is insane. And then come over here and win Evo World. I mean, that's just nuts, right? I mean, it's really, yeah. What he's done is just insane. So right now, until proven otherwise, he's the best in the world. And keep in mind, proving otherwise doesn't just mean, oh, someone beat him in a tournament. No, 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 no. You have to like win multiple things at his level and as dominant as he has, which again, dominance is the key.
Dominance is the key. So it's not enough to just like beat him a couple times. Like you got to really
Oh,
like match blow for blow in terms of like across the board. Then
yeah, which I don't see anyone doing what he's done so far, right? I mean, that alone is going to be something to beat.
yeah, that seems like a what would I would consider a Herculean task.
Yeah,
Um,
because don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people who have won tournaments with with other Koreans and things like that, right? But
mhm,
this guy is doing it consistently,
mhm,
and that is nuts.
yeah. I'm like, man, just when you think like you've seen because like I had like I said, I mean as far as like people who are like known, I'm relatively new to the scene. So this guy, I mean, I was like, whoa, wait, what's going on here? Because up until like a while ago, I thought that like in my opinion, I thought that what's his name, Nee was the best player I'd ever seen. You know, and
Well, there's always bigger fish out there, right? But I think we found one of the bigger fishes right now. So I'm curious to see who the next big fish will be.
yeah,
But it's this is like a megalodon right here, so I don't know. We'll see.
a megalodon. Oh man. So in
Uh,
reference to the way how like the FGC is now, what do you think about like the current like I guess like the environment of like the fighting game community?
I like it. I mean, like I said, I took a break, so I've been out for just come back in right now. I know there's been a lot of issues happening recently, but that's unfortunately just things that come through with becoming a bigger scene.
Yeah.
The scene in general is much larger than it ever was, right? I mean, and you're talking to a guy who's seen multiple, comeback stories in terms of the FGC, right? I mean, we've had dead years, we've had top years. Right now, given the fact that esports as a whole is making this huge impact, and then fighting games are kind of up and coming, like Tekken 7 especially at the forefront of it, I think the scene is strong. To be better, I and it pains me to say this as a Tekken player fundamentally. We need Street Fighter to be a solid game. So if one Street Fighter comes through, and Street Fighter 6 was going to be a strong game, it just has to be. I feel like the scene is going to, get to the next level again because we do have a lot of games. You have interest in a lot of different games, so that's pretty cool. NRS in the past few years has been doing their thing, so that's awesome. Hopefully we get another good Marvel as well.
Yeah.
Um, and what you want for a good fighting game scene is, you have the cycle of games every few years, right? So you want a good, 5 or 6 games that people enjoy with their different subgroups. And right now, I think we're doing really well. We could do better, and we're on our way there. You know, thanks to people like Anakin, et cetera, putting the teams on their back, so to speak.
Hmm.
We'll get there. But so far, I have nothing bad to say about it. It's a very strong scene, and I think we're getting stronger.
Awesome. Okay, so in chat we actually have some people asking some questions. Tempest TL says asked has he seen Peru?
I have, yeah. The key charging guy, or what his name is. It's, yes, yes. Peru is definitely South America is pretty strong, right? We know that as well. Uh, but again, until they do, to answer your question about Arslan or whatever versus Peru, I think they're going to try to get something happening with Pakistan versus Peru. Peru already responded apparently,
Mm-hmm.
but are they as good as Arslan? Right now, I don't know, not yet, because they've been around, they've been traveling tournaments, and more importantly, we've had tournaments in South America before, right? And we've had tournaments in Brazil. They're very strong players, right? I absolutely no doubt about that. Are they the best in the world? I don't think so, not yet,
Mm-hmm.
and not consistently at least.
Yeah. Said that like yeah, he said they're trying to get Peru versus Pakistan. I am one for down am down for this. Um, I think like the thing about it is that I'm going to say like I've been living under a rock a little bit. I had no idea. I have no idea what happened with Peru. Like all of a sudden everybody's talking about like like how Peru is like really great. And I was like, wait, what happened? I feel like I was in I was like in like a hyperbolic time chamber and I came back and everything was different. Like I'm not even sure what
Well,
exactly
I,
happened.
I think they just had a challenger event there yesterday. I think it was a 1 day tournament, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
South America, probably Peru, and the Peruvian players did really well. So Koreans were in top eight, but I think like the bottom part of the top eight, like 5 and 7, 7 or something like that.
Oh wow. Yeah, they said they said Peru bopped Korea.
Nah, no, none, most of Korea bought Peru, but right, but that being said, the few Peruvian players did really well. Absolutely.
All right. So, in terms of gaming in general, what is your favorite part of gaming? Like just as a whole.
Um, the scene. I mean, just the people I've met through gaming has been pretty awesome. Some more than others, right? Because
Oh yeah.
some people they literally found their wives through gaming. They have like all these kids and everything. So that's kind of insane to me. But for me, I've met some great people through gaming, people that I can call lifelong friends. So I think that's been awesome. And then just having the ability to kill time and enjoy myself, right? Do something I enjoy, de-stress a little bit. Real life is always going to be out there, but
Yeah.
having a chance to play something you enjoy. And then also for me, by the way, I use it as an excuse to travel, right? So I went to Chicago last year for a tournament. I didn't even enter the tournament. I just went to, to play casuals and to spectate, but use that tournament as an excuse to go out there, and visit the city. And so I'll do things like that all the time. Vegas for Evo. I went to San Jose last month for Strong Style as well. So just the traveling aspect that gets combined with gaming is pretty cool.
Yeah, man, that's pretty awesome. Like, cause, I mean, to really get to like, I mean, get to make your money, but then like still keep in touch with with like your passion, like on the side. That's really good, man. Like,
Right.
that's kind of what I mean, that's kind of what I'm trying to steer towards doing, like streaming, and then going out and because I've always one thing ever since I was a little kid, like one of the only things I ever wanted to do as far as gaming was concerned was to be good at Tekken. Because back in the day when I started playing on Tekken 2, and the only thing me and my brothers knew how to do was we just low kicked each other all the time, and that was it. That would be the whole match. We're just like low kicking each other until one person fell over, and that was it. So yeah, game has changed a lot since then, but yeah, man, we're one day, man, one day, one day. So if you had to go back in time, like let's say you had a chance, like a time, and hypothetically speaking, you go back in time, what would you give? Like, what advice would you give to yourself, like at the very beginning when you're starting out learning the game?
Um. So one thing I would tell myself is I didn't know that I would still enjoy Tekken this much years later. So when I started not enjoying it as much in time, I just kind of completely stopped, right? Even though I had the ability to play a little bit. I said, nah, I'm good. I'll always be all right. The one thing I wish I did was, swallow my ego and just swallow my pride rather, and just play the game that even if I didn't like the game as much, right? And I know that sounds kind of backward, right? You shouldn't play something you don't enjoy. But since we're talking about hindsight, hindsight being 2020,
Hmm.
like for example, I hated 6BR and I hated Tag 2. So I was like, nah, I'm good. I wish I at least played like once every month or two, which is not a lot, but it's still better than nothing. Just so one, I could still stay with the scene, see what's happening, and two, maybe learn a little bit about characters here and there, because I always knew Tekken was like a really big game for me, right? I mean, it was never just a side thing. I always spent a lot of time playing it, and it wouldn't have gotten in the way of my career or anything like that either, because that's still there.
Yeah.
So that's probably the one thing I would have told myself from a Tekken standpoint. But other than that, everything else, no, I don't think I would have told myself anything. Things kind of worked the way it should have. I'm not trying to become an Evo champ. I'm not trying to become this, top player or anything like that. I'm just a guy that, enjoys doing what I do, enjoys playing here and there, and hopefully, kicking ass here and there when I can.
Hell yeah, man. I mean, you're definitely kicking ass. I can tell you that.
Mm.
Oh man. So, like you said, like you were like you travel a lot. So, is there anywhere that you've like? I mean, besides like Houston, I guess you would say like anywhere outside of Houston that feels like home when you're out and about.
Um, Vegas, I guess, is pretty chill, right? I'm there like once or twice a year, so I guess. And then of course, my actual home, Bombay, so that's
Oh
pretty
yeah, yeah.
cool. But other than that, no, man, Houston is where the heart is. I feel pretty good over here.
I feel that, man. I feel yeah, because I mean, for me, I think as of, like Texas, like well Dallas, I guess like here would definitely be like home, but outside of Dallas, I would probably say the only place for me would be like Philadelphia. Like I mean, I was like that's where I was born, right? So I go there and then I walk outside, and it's one of the very few places where I've walked outside, and I feel like my home doesn't necessarily end at the walls where like I'm staying. So yeah.
Hmm.
So I feel feel good about that. Real good. Uh, all right, man. So it like seeing as how you're like you go all to like a lot of events and conventions and stuff. Like, what events like if like people wanted to meet you, on that stalker status, like wanted to meet you, like where exactly would it be a good place to meet you in like the next coming months?
Well, so I don't go to too many events. Like I said, I only started again recently, and I have dead months. So, for example, I'm going to be super swamped at work till mid to late October.
Mm-hmm.
So no tournaments for me until then. Maybe a couple weeklies here and there if I can sneak out. But other than that, the I'm going to try to make it to Red Bull, which is in Houston, and I guess in October, late October. So you can probably see me there. If not, any of the locals over here. Oh, Saturday evenings in Sugarland, there's this little place called Tea Time where we get about 4 or 5 setups, and it's just a few of us, right? We just play, bond, learn a bit about characters, and people that are trying to learn the game kind of come over there, learn from each other. So that's nice. Uh, Other than that, the big tournaments I always try to make. So Texas Showdown, I'll always make that, right? So support Texas Showdown.
Yeah.
It's besides Evo, it's the longest running fighting game tournament in the U.S.
Really?
So that's yep, absolutely.
I did not know
At
that.
least for major, yeah. Yeah, because we've been doing this since yeah, it's since 2000. So next year's going to be 20.
Wow.
So next year at Tech Showdown is going to be the 20th year of Showdown.
Holy
So
smokes.
definitely hit that up. I'm sure it's going to be very special. I'll try to make it to Evo for sure. Um, Man, you know what? I went to Strong Style this year. That was kind of amazing. I'm not gonna lie. I'd never been before. So I keep hearing that there's not gonna be another Strong Style, but if there is one, hint hint, I'll be there.
Well,
Uh,
how come there wouldn't be another one? What happened?
I don't think they do it regularly, and running a tournament's a lot of pressure, and it's just not the easiest thing to do. So I get it. Uh, the other thing, so Evo, I'll always try to make. Combo Breaker was awesome. Definitely hit that up as well.
Oh,
I went there last year, not this past year, but the year before that. So that was really cool. Um, so again, just these majors every now, as long as it's not in my busy time at work, I'll do what I can to make it, just because it's fun to get out of the city every once in a while.
all right. You thinking about going to what you call it, DreamHack Atlanta? Because
When is that?
that's at the I think mid November. I think it is.
I might. I mean, I think I was in Atlanta last November for probably do that again. Um, Honestly, these kind of things I decide pretty last minute.
Oh yeah.
But some of them, but Showdown I'll always go to. I haven't missed one of those in forever. And Evo more than likely I'll go to. The rest I decide kind of last minute.
I feel
But
that.
if there's another strong style, I think I'm adding that to the list, to the rotating list as well.
Where's strong style at?
San Jose.
San Jose. Okay,
Hmm.
cool. Oh, Trajan Flow wants to know when the Chris G rematch is and where you're keeping his soul right now.
Oh, his soul is safely hidden with me at all times. It's actually hidden palm of my hand, and he only gets his soul back once I get the handshake. That's how it actually works.
Oh man, that's beautiful. I love it. Oh man. So
I don't. So I don't know if people know what he's talking about. So what Trojan Flow is referring to. I mean, I mean, Christy doesn't know who I am, by the way. I'm just a random dude. But that's actually exactly what makes it so beautiful. I played him in an arcade, Texas Showdown for a tournament, and the very first match of the tournament was him versus me. He didn't know who I was, and he shouldn't. I'm not a top player at all for Third Strike. So he picked Sean on me the first game. And for those of you who don't know, Sean is the worst or second
worst.
worst character in the game.
Yeah, he's pretty bad.
And so I beat him, and he's like, "Oh, let me switch to who do you switch to Yang. Yang is kind of a counter matchup against my Akuma, I think." He won the one game, but I got kind of mad. I was like, "You know what? No, man, you picked Sean on me. Screw that." So I actually like tried, and I won. And someone got it on video. It's such an awesome video to where they got the not the actual game itself, but the crowd reaction and the arcade. I got up, so I won. The crowd got hype. I got up to shake his hand. This is a head-to-head cabinet, and as I turned around, as I walked across the cabinet to shake his hand, he was already like gone. It's like, what the hell? So I
Dang
look
man.
back, and he is salty, storming out. So I'm like, you know what? All right, that's pretty cool. Hold this L.
Yep. Hold that L close to your chest, man. Shit.
That was funny.
God. So, are you thinking about? I mean, like, so you're over here kicking ass in like Third Strike. Like, are you thinking about breaking into like any other games? You know, maybe Dead or Alive, something like that.
No. I mean, like I said, I've always been a fighting game player, right? So I just play games that are fun to me. There are a lot of games I've enjoyed playing, but in terms of high level, it's always
Mm-hmm.
been Tekken, right? That's just because it's just come more naturally to me. I'll still enjoy Street Fighter, not so much Street Fighter 5 or, but at least the old Street Fighters I enjoyed. Um, but again, going back to I just don't have that kind of time anymore that I used to. So I don't need to relearn games, right? That'd be great. So Tekken is just easy to. Here you
Yeah.
go, pick up the controller. If I'm having a bad day, let me just go beat up on some people, and I'm done. So it's
Blow
easy.
some steam.
Yeah.
So you were saying earlier that like the next like Street Fighter needs to be a little bit stronger. So what do you think is not so strong about the current Street Fighter, like Street Fighter
I'm
Five?
I'm not fully familiar because, like I said, I don't really play this new Street Fighter. I haven't played a Street Fighter series in a very long time since
Mm-hmm.
Third Strike. But from what I understand, and I don't fully get it because people say this Street Fighter promotes a bit of randomness.
Mm,
Uh, Although I don't know how true that is because I every time I see it's still the same players winning. But don't quote me if I'm don't quote me if I'm wrong. I just don't know the answer to that. But I know that people are disappointed in Street Fighter 5 as a game as a whole compared to Street Fighter 4. And Street Fighter is kind of still your granddaddy fighting game tournament, not including Smash. We're not going to count that, obviously.
yeah, yeah.
But you and because that's and no offense to Smash players, but that's just a different. It's not part of the FGC. Even if you want to call it a fighting game, not call it a fighting game, our scenes don't coincide. But Street Fighter is always that granddaddy of fighting games, right? And that's the one that's always going to bring the most players in, be it new players, be it seasoned players, whatever it might be. Even as in terms of esports, right? That's the one that's the most famous. It
Right.
may not be the best game, but it's the most famous. But if you also make it the best game, combine all of it together, that's just going to be great for the scene, right? And I think you really need your premier game to also be a fundamentally strong game, so people don't lose interest.
Mm-hmm. Do you think we're ever gonna get Tekken Cross Street Fighter?
Yeah, probably. I think Harada went on record saying it's still in development or something like that.
Oh wow.
I could see it. I'm not hung up over it or anything like that. If we get it, great. If not, No big deal. Move on.
I, I was looking forward to it, man. I was really looking forward to it. I was like, Tekken for Tekken X Street Fighter. I think it'd be really cool. But yeah, like if we don't get it, I'm not going to like freak out. But it would. But I would freak out if we did get it, though. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. I would freak out. uh,
Yeah, I think the one challenge you risk is you might lose some Tekken players as a result, just because I think people are
oh,
realizing that Tekken players don't enjoy playing against 2D characters, and sorry, Tekken 7 was a great test subject, right? That's why you have Geese in here, you have Akuma, obviously, and all these other characters. So that goes back to what we talked about earlier, where your fundamentals kind of change. So you might see that a little bit. You might a little bit more in Tekken versus Street Fighter.
mm, yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. Because yeah, man, people throwing fireballs and stuff. I'm like, yo. Usually, you only see that um, during like the boss, like the last couple of stages in arcade mode. You know, like Devil Kazuya or um, or Azrael or Jinpachi Mishima. Ugh. Uh,
Sure.
so I was a little bit surprised. I'm like, oh, they got Akuma in here. Oh, he can actually throw fireballs. Oh, they got Geese. Oh, he does the Rabuken. Like I'm like, great. So, all right. So, what do you think is the best way to support like our fellow fighting game players? You know, like what do you think is our like as a community? I guess like fighters for fighters.
I mean, just build people up when you can, right? I mean, don't be a dick to people all the time. I think and I have trouble with that because I usually am one. But just don't, I don't know. I don't really have a great answer to that. I feel people feel pretty supported when they play right now, right? The community as a whole has been pretty good for the most part. When people do bad things, they get called out. When people
Oh
do
yeah.
good things, they get lauded for it. One thing I would say is don't celebrate garbage people, right? So
Mm,
that's one thing I stick by. But other than that, I think the community is doing what it needs to. I don't think we need to do anything different per se. I'm not a huge fan of all the GoFundMe's and stuff like that. I never was to begin with. Maybe it's a different situation now though, that people make careers out of it, right?
hmm
Um, so that's kind of my one thing. I'm usually a bit more cautious when people are like, "Oh, help me get to Evo and stuff like that." I'm like, "Yeah, but why?" Right? So that's kind of my one thing. But other than that, just do what you keep doing.
Amen, man. As I mean, you know what's funny when before I really started playing Tekken, I mean, I used to hear it a lot. There's like, oh my god, the fighting game community is so toxic, and like this, that, and the third. And I was like, oh man, it's gonna be really crazy when I start, going out and meeting people. And then, I came to Texas Showdown, and it wasn't like that at all. As a matter of fact, I felt like it was quite the opposite of what everybody portrayed it to be completely. Everybody was super cool. For example, like the guys from Austin got me in touch with the people in Dallas, and then and in addition to that, I met you guys. I met you and like Luke and Tyler and Ryan and Josh. Like all these people all here at like Texas Showdown, and it's like wow, like all these really cool people I met, and I don't see what the I always heard all this bad stuff, and it's just not like that. Maybe it is sometimes, but for the most part, it just doesn't seem like that. Of course, like people get competitive and stuff, but that's just the way the game is played, man. Like people are going to get
Hmm.
competitive, so
Right.
people are going to talk trash and stuff. Whatever. That's just the way it is. So, Matt, what exactly are like your contact links? Like, you got a Twitter. How exactly, if we wanted to contact you, what would be the best way to contact you? And not like
Yeah.
irritate the hell out of you.
I haven't. I mean, I don't use Twitter very much, but I have it. So if you ever want to tweet me, it's Leap Vineet as it's spelled on the stream, right? So L337 V1N337. I know it's tough to look at. I'm on Instagram all the time. Or you know what, man? Just if you really want, just reach out to me on Facebook. That's probably the easiest. Just my first and last name. I'm a pretty easygoing guy for the most part. Just send me a message or whatever. I'm always down. Oh, by the way, one thing I always enjoy. This is for anyone in the chat or anything like that. Even though I prefer playing offline, I love playing players I've never played before online as well. So if you ever want, hit me up on Steam. I have PS4, but I don't really play PS4 online. But Steam online, yeah, man, let's get some games in. Just drop me a message. We can kind of put something together and play.
Awesome. See, there you go, people. The language of a true champion. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I mean, Anybody in chat have any questions for Vineet, man? Like, let her rip. Anything that's pertinent to what we're talking about. I saw some of those questions people had earlier. Like, I mean, it's okay if you ask him what his favorite anime character is, right? But I saw some of those questions earlier. I was just like, tisk, tisk, tisk. This is not the time or place for any of that. Oh. Yeah. I'm like, but I did like that when the Chris G rematch is though. That was pretty funny. Where he's keeping his soul right now.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
surprised you haven't seen that video yet, man. You gotta go watch that video.
yeah, man. I really, because like all I know is like you in terms of like Tekken, man. Like I'm like, yo, man, this guy, he knows what he's doing. He's
Here,
like
here,
like when I'm playing.
I'm gonna find and send you the link right now.
Yeah, please do.
Find this. Here, I'm gonna find this here somewhere. Give me a second. I got it here.
Trojan Flow it says, who does he think has the best haha step in the Tekken scene?
Man, you already know, bro. It's actually Anakin. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, it might be. He's pretty good, man. That's one of my boys right there. He's talking about the video I made about haha steps a long time ago. My very high quality video, as I call it. Ultra HD.
HD.
Where is this damn Chris G video? I'm gonna find this thing. Sorry, give me a second. I'm almost there.
You're good, man.
Scrolling back more and more and more and more and more.
Oh, let's see. Trojan Flow also asked earlier on, who is Vineet's Tekken waifu?
Oh man, who's over 18? Let's start with that first. We start with that and then work our way from there, right?
So Loki Chloe is automatically disqualified.
You know what, man? I think it'd be Eliza.
Eliza?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Eliza's the way to go.
I would say, in my case, I would definitely say my Tekken waifu would be Katarina. Yeah.
Katarina's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How do I share the stupid link? I'm looking at the video right now. Let me see if I can figure this.
Oh my goodness. What's favorite Ranma character? Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, I know I have that Ranma 1/2 poster up there, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I've never seen that show.
What?
Yeah,
you have not seen Ranma? Sir,
no, man.
Right now.
I know, right? I'm ashamed. I'm gonna just take it. Hold on, one second. I'm just take it down right now. It's like, hold on, wait. You know what? I got an idea. One second, everybody. I'm gonna take this down. So I'm not insulting people anymore. We're gonna put up this one right here. I actually started reading this one back in high school. Fushigi Yugi. I actually started reading this. So put this one over here. Well, it's not. There we go. Trojan Flo says this new environmentally conscious Julia is fire.
Yeah, you know what? She's interesting. I really like her.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's loud.
Whew.
Oh, was that the Chris G video? Yeah.
Yeah.
Video. Yeah, put that on there.
Yeah, like, let's go on what's called display capture this real quick. Hold on. Stretch the screen. Boom. Start that over. Turn the volume up a little bit. Wow. Wow.
You know what? It be like that sometimes.
Damn, man. Damn.
So that was pretty funny.
This comment you put on here. Am I esports yet? Wrong game? Damn, okay.
That's funny.
Oh
No,
my
I
goodness.
was just trolling a bit. Yeah, man. That was just a funny moment for me. Like honestly, I wouldn't have cared either ways at all because like I just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But man, like just the combination of him picking Sean on me and then just walking off, I was like, you know what? Nah, man, I think I will put you on blast a little bit. This is kind of funny. So it was just interesting. It was cute. That's all.
It was cute. It's a good word for it. It was cute. All right. Well, Trojan Flow in all caps. It never gets old.
Word.
All right. Well, if we don't have any more questions for our illustrious guest here, I guess we can call it right there. I'd like to thank Vineet for being a real sport coming on and doing this interview. I really appreciate it, man. Like you're a great guest. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, man. Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Thanks for doing what you do.
Oh man, thank you for saying you appreciate it. It's nice to have people come on here because it's like, oh wait, Tyler 2022 has a question. He's,
Who's that?
Tyler,
I'm just kidding.
normal Tyler without the 2022 added.
All right. What's Tyler's question?
What's your question, Tyler? Ask your question quickly.
Uh,
What character do you find the hardest to fight against in Tekken 7?
so my answer will be very different from most people, just because I have a different perspective. Any character that's new in Tekken 7, I find hard to play against. Simple as that, right?
Mm,
So specifically for me, Eliza, which I know there was another game like Revolution or something like that. I don't know what that is, but I didn't play that.
me
So
neither.
Eliza and Katarina are two big ones that I have trouble playing because they just seem tough to play against. Um, Eliza, I'm told, is not as good, but you still need to know what she's doing, right? So that's just a little frustrating.
Yeah.
Um, I would probably have trouble with Gigas, but no one really plays them at a high level, so I'm good.
Yep.
Um, the meter characters, Akuma for sure. Akuma is actually one of the most painstaking characters to play, especially with my character. Just because one, I have to turn off my fundamentals, and two, focus more on learning T7. So I have a very hard time playing against him as well. But again, typically the general idea is anything that where you can take away legacy skill,
Hmm.
that's where I'm going to have the toughest time in Tekken.
There you go, man. And in my case, it's the whole roster, but I'm working on it. Any other questions? Anybody else? Any other questions? Actually, that's what I want you to. I actually like that one question. It's like who's your favorite Rama character, Vineet?
My favorite ramen character. Oh God, what's the panda, the dad?
The dad.
Yeah. And then God, it's been so long since I've watched him. I can't remember the name, but yeah, the panda was probably my favorite character, just cause it's panda. I like pandas.
Ketchot said, "Did you know of Vineet's birthday on Saturday?" What?
Yeah, man. No, not really.
Oh, this guy.
No, my birth. If you guys want to get me something, my birthday is Christmas Day, December 25th.
No way, really?
Hmm.
Wow. All right, I'll remember that. What kind of? What do you get for the man who has everything?
Man, it's everything I like that.
Shit, man. Oh man. Like, so let me ask, what is your favorite anime? Actually, that's one thing I'd like to know. Do you still watch anime, or is that a thing you like? Or
Uh, yeah, I still watch anime every now and then, not as much. 24-hour birthday stream. That's what I'm talking about.
Eee.
Uh, the what's my favorite anime? Let's see. So back in India when I was a kid, I would watch God, what's this stupid anime called? I can't remember. One of the old mech animes, and I'm just blanking on the name right now. But I don't know if that's my favorite. Trigun and Cowboy Bebop were two of
Mm,
the ones that got me into anime again. Ranma actually was the first one that got me into anime again,
mm,
while knowing it's anime. Trigun and Bebop were two that I just loved. Um, and then I liked early Naruto, like, because why not?
yep.
Um, I loved Full Metal Panic 2, Famafu. Famafu was great. That was really funny. Um, and then recently, like everyone else, man, One Punch Man. Gotta like One Punch
Oh
Man.
yeah, man. One Punch Man. All right. So who's your favorite One Punch character?
One Punch Man.
One Punch.
The guy. Saitama. Saitama. Yeah.
Santama.
I'm basic, but So online, my Paul is actually dressed up like One Punch Man. I just do Death Fist all day.
Oh God.
That's fun.
Of course. Oh man, I like what's his name? Faster than Sound or Faster than Sound Sonic.
Hyposonic, whatever. Yeah, yeah, that guy's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah, I like that guy. Like always striving, man. Always striving for the top. I mean, it's a tough world, man. What are you gonna
cool.
do?
It is, man.
Oh, apparently, Tempest really liked the Famofu. He's like, yes, in all caps.
Yeah, but you know what? If I'm not mistaken, I heard the director from Ofo unfortunately passed away in that fire that happened, the arson fire.
No.
I think so. It's kind of sad news. A lot of history gone over there. But Fumofu, like one of the most amazing animes I've ever watched. Like you would think, oh, comedy anime, and then you watch it, like, oh my god, this is really, really good. So if you haven't watched it, like Fumofu is part. So Full Metal Panic was season one. It was like serious, I guess,
Mm.
and I watched it. It was pretty good. Full Metal Panic season two was a comedy. You don't really need to watch season one, but it's a very quick and easy watch. If you can, I highly recommend you go watch it. Do it the correct way. Watch it subbed. You love it. I mean, that's one I actually go back and rewatch every now and then too.
Nice. I think only one anime like that. I mean, one anime that I watch like I rewatch Samurai Champloo like every year. Like
Shampoo is fun, man.
that's like my
Yeah.
number one favorite like anime of like all time. Oh man. So, have you ever seen? Oh, speaking of like anime and movies and stuff like that. For those of you who don't know, they re only for 2 days for some reason, and the most inconvenient days of all, because the first day was on the same day as Senpai's at 7 o'clock, which was the same day same time that Senpai starts the tournament. But they had a what do you call Satoshi Kon's Millennium Actress in theaters, and on the third I think it was the 13th, and then they're going to have it again tomorrow on the 19th. Uh, for like I think the first one was the subbed version, and this one is going to be the dubbed version. So if any of y'all are interested in watching that, you can check like the times because it's in select theaters. You know how that is, but yeah, like they only show it at 7 o'clock if I remember correctly. I know Launchables wanted to see it. Hey, the Great White's here in chat. What up, man? Came all the way at the end of the interview, man. You got any questions for Vineet? Like he's still here for limited time, one night only, man.
Yeah,
Millennium.
like you can't ask me that some other time.
Yeah, right. Millennium Actress was godlike. If you haven't seen it, yeah, I love that movie. I loved it. I was. If you haven't seen it, you should watch. Oh, he says, "Nah, I hate that guy." Oh man, this guy, man. All right, man. Well, once again, thanks a lot, Vineet, for coming on, man. I really appreciate you. Of, maybe we'll do a follow up interview maybe in a couple months. See where we're both at. Hopefully, but at that point in time, I'm a bigger streamer. We have like 80 viewers and stuff coming on, like to come check
Oh,
the
you're good,
interview out.
man. It's not about the number of viewers, it's the quality of viewers, right? That's what I care about.
You're right though. You're right, man. I see you smart. Yeah, everybody. Thanks a lot for coming to watch the amazing experience. As always, it's quite a pleasure to have all of you in chat. Talking, being coming, showing up, and showing out. Really, I'd like to thank everybody for being a part of this tonight. Um, I'm going back to doing interviews regularly. I took a break for a while because extenuating circumstances. So now I'm going to be doing these more regularly. Try to do it on a more weekly basis. Next week, I'm going to try to get Larry. He's one of the developers that works for Riot Games. So we're going to see him on stream next week. Until then, thank you very much, everybody. Love, peace, and hair grease. Just remember, no matter what happens after the end of the stream, you're going to be okay because I'll be back with another amazing experience. Oh wait, hold on. Before I leave, though, I want to recognize all three of the new followers we got: Blurring Monkey, Laws Mike, 713, and Malong D all followed. So I'll give you guys a spiel real quick. Thank you guys very much for following the amazing experience. We here at the amazing experience like to appreciate every single viewer, follower, lurker, and subscriber that comes to our door. So thank you very much for not only making it a more amazing experience for you and your fellow associates, but for me as well. Thank you. for your contribution. Yeah, that's the spiel, guys. You like that? I came up with that a few months ago, and I've been saying it really fast ever since. It's been quite a journey. Anyway, you don't want to hear about that. But thanks a lot, everybody, for stopping by for the stream, and I'll see you guys next time.